So Murder Drones episode 4 came out almost a month ago, and in that time, everybody else has obviously already made their videos about their theories, their animations, and whatever else. Except for me. I'm just now getting around to making my video about it now because I'm a procrastinating loser who can't make good videos to save his life. As explained in this video, my script for this video was 10 pages long and pretty much recapped the entire episode with my thoughts spliced in between, and I figured nobody would want to watch that. That's stupid, that's boring. And the video would probably run over half an hour, 45 minutes or more anyway. So instead, I made a video talking about a goofy theory I created about the callers. But now I'm going to talk about the entire episode as a whole. For the most part. And, what did I think of it? Well, it was absolutely fucking awesome. And that's about it. Thanks for watching. Bye! No, but in all seriousness, this episode was mind-boggling. It added so much more to the already confusing equation of the absolute solver and the mysteries of the series as a whole. And god damn it, I am not a math professor. Math is my worst subject. I can't do this. While there were some things that I thought were a bit odd, for example, I find it strange how we got no build-up or didn't get to see Uzi learning how to use her absolute solver at all. It just happened spontaneously. There wasn't any short clips, no montage, no anything that showed her learning how to use its abilities. She just does. I wish that we could have gotten to see it happen instead of it happening off screen, but I don't know. Or how one of the teasers said don't go in the lake with an image of Uzi submerged up to her neck in the water. But in the episode, the lake is completely frozen and doesn't even hold any significance other than just being a location. Which not only disproves something I said in my thoughts on video, but also leads me to believe the teaser was made to mislead people. Since it being released on March 31st, only 7 days before the episode was scheduled for release, it couldn't have possibly left enough time to change the lake's entire purpose. At least I think. Plus, it wouldn't have even made sense in the show's context, seeing as the planet has been under a constant snowstorm for who knows how long. So realistically, all the water would have already turned to ice long ago. But for the most part, I really enjoyed the episode, and I was super surprised at the events that took place in it. As I've already stated, pretty much everything I thought was gonna happen turned out completely wrong. Minus two things. One was that Uzi was probably going to be the main antagonist, which turned out to be the case. And two is that technically Final Girl was the final survivor of the campers. At the time, I obviously didn't know that Lizzie or Thad would be in the picture, and of course Lizzie lived. But of the campers introduced, Final Girl was the last to die. So I guess I was right and wrong on that point. I guess. As for everything else, yeah, it was completely wrong. Jay did not make her return. The cabin was not coated in extremely large and thick webs. In fact, it was probably the weird goop that Uzi created that coated the cabin, but we'll get into that in a second. And, well, obviously, the disassembly drone worker drone hybrid I talked so much about in that video was not Nori Doll NRV, and it wasn't even a disassembly drone worker drone hybrid at all. But rather Uzi as some monstrous bat vampire thing from hell, some twisted mimicry of a disassembly drone that I'm just gonna call Zombie Drone Uzi. Speaking of, let's get into it. So, the first thing I wanted to talk about is obviously Zombie Drone Uzi, since I've wanted to talk about this thing since the moment I saw it. So, first off, they nailed the horror aspect of this monster. This thing is absolutely terrifying. This is the thing that would pursue me in my nightmares when I was younger. From its appearance, to the way it moves, the way it crawls across the ground, almost like it's slithering, down to the way it's introduced even. Like, I'm sure I'm not the only one who was more surprised at the wing when it came out than anything else, because even after I started to suspect that Uzi was going to become the main danger of the episode, and that she would become this disassembly drone worker drone hybrid I talked so much about, I was obviously still under the impression that when it happened, she would gain mechanical wings, like the disassembly drones. Maybe she would even get their little syringe tail with acid. So, when an actual organic bat wing comes sprouting from the goop, and you can hear it tearing through the goop as it emerges, like Uzi was in a cocoon or something, that came as a hell of a surprise. Total shock. I actually wrote my reaction into my original script, the first words that left my mouth after that scene was over. Except I don't really know why, because it was a pretty simple, holy fucking shit. But of course, the craziness had only just begun. Even though we've probably all seen it at this point, I'm gonna play the scene where we next see Uzi after the reveal. Holy shit. This scene is disturbing. Everything about it. The cabin being sprawled with the gore of Rebecca and Darren, Uzi stuffing her face so full of oil that she can't keep it down and keeps retching. The fact that all we see of Rebecca is her lower half after she was fucking bisected. It's so disturbing. It literally looks like a viscera cleanup detail level. It's gross, it's sick, it's disturbing, and just ugh. And the fact that Rebecca, after being bisected, somehow managed to crawl to the door and open it without alerting Uzi, despite her being in the same room, and then crawling through the woods back to the campers, all the while bleeding out and yet not dying, is astonishing. You know, people were rooting for Rebecca to survive, and with endurance like that, it's surprising that she even did die. But she dies after she reaches the campers, because horror movie cliche. We can't have a character trying to warn others of impending danger get their message across. They have to die before they can deliver it. Also, I thought my reaction to Rebecca's description of Uzi was kind of funny, so I wrote it into the script as well.
Don't remember name. Super unpopular.
Descriptive clues, man!
Purple eyes. Hot topic.
And my reaction was, like, excuse me? You're telling me you done did crawled all the way over here with just your upper half and your best description for the thing that did this to you is fucking Hot Topic? Girl, you're gonna get everyone fucking killed! Then Uzi appears and recreates the thumbnail of the Cabin Fever video, and out of the entire group, her first target is Braden, which was obviously very sad that such an important character died, and what's even worse is probably that he died before Lizzie. Like, seriously, Liam? You're gonna kill off such an important character like Braden, but you're gonna keep fucking Lizzie alive? Of all characters, fucking Lizzie? Seriously? Anyway, enough babbling. Another aspect that makes Zombie Drone Uzi so terrifying, at least to me, is just her sheer power. Like, even without the magical abilities of the Absolute Solver, her strength alone is unnerving. Like, after the group splits up and Sweater Guy tumbles into this tree, Uzi landing against another one with such force that it splits the trunk in the opposite direction is really unsettling. And not that it has anything to do with her strength, but the scene after where she's crawling down the tree to get to Sweater Guy is... oh boy, it's something, that's for sure.
Does it at least have pictures?
It doesn't. I checked.
Then, of course, there's her fight with V, where she does get knocked down, but then almost immediately gets the upper hand again, and pretty much just humiliates V for a majority of the fight. It just goes to show how powerful she really is in this zombie drone form. And it's also pretty freaky to think that V, whose entire purpose is quite literally to eradicate worker drones, who has a vast arsenal of weapons, who has slaughtered hundreds, thousands even, of Uzi's people, is overpowered in less than a minute. If N had not come in to save the day like Spider-Man, V was probably going to die. And that's pretty freaky to think about. This murder machine, this genocide robot, is overpowered in less than a minute by the very thing that she is designed to kill. It's pretty freaky.
Whoops! Easy there, buddy. Ow! Up we go!
Actually, had V died, would that mean that she would have turned into an abomination like Eldritch J? Hell, I don't know with this series anymore. There's so much wackiness surrounding the Absolute Solver and its supernatural abilities that I honestly wouldn't be surprised if in episode 5, Doll gains her own monstrous zombie drone form, and zombie drone Doll and Uzi duke it out with each other. Or hell, maybe Uzi and Doll morph into dragons and battle in the Copper 9 sky using the powers of the 6 Infinity Stones. You never know with this series. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, and one more thing. I have to give props to Elsie Lovelock in this episode. During the zombie drone segments, the manic, insane giggles emanating from Uzi are super creepy. And during her brief talk with V, she sounds genuinely distressed, panicked, and just terrified.
V, please. New body, same horrors. Huh, Sin? I don't know who that is. Can I talk to N?
She also sounds super worried a bit later when asking N if he's gonna leave her. Seriously, the things voice actors can do is phenomenal.
Are you, gonna leave me?
Now then, my rant about a single character that was 3 pages long is over. How about something different? Another thing I wanted to mention was the mystery surrounding this part of the video. I don't have any answers, obviously, but I at least wanted to mention it. So, N arrives at this command center or security room or whatever, and he finds this tape labeled Zombie Drones, and it's a JC Jensen Tech training video. And when he goes to touch it, he gets these visions of another drone, a severed arm, and a massive singularity over the mansion he and V were in on Earth. Now, I'm not sure what the severed arm is supposed to mean, but I do think the singularity that's shown is the same singularity Khan mentions Nori talked about in the flashback at the beginning of the episode. Now, as for, well, pretty much everything else about it, I don't know. What's it supposed to represent? What's its connection to the plot? Does it have something to do with JC Jensen or the Absolute Solver? I don't know. And as for the drone that appears, well, who is this drone? I've seen some people say that it's Sin. I've seen some people say it's the 4th drone introduced to N at the beginning of episode 2. And again, I obviously don't know. I'm not Liam. I'm not working on the show. I don't work for Glitch Productions. Although since Sin doesn't have an appearance we can pinpoint to them yet, I'm just gonna use this screenshot when referring to them. Speaking of, who even is Sin? What happened to them? And why does V refer to Uzi as Sin?
New body, same horrors. Huh, Sin?
Did Sin become a monster at the hands of the Absolute Solver as well? Was Sin perhaps the first drone to become a zombie drone? Were V and the others forced to put them down? I don't know. There's a lot of questions that can be asked, but unfortunately can't be answered. So, I don't know. Hey there, Seal from the future here. So, looking back, there were a few more things that I could have mentioned about this whole Sin thing that I either didn't write into my script or I completely forgot about. So, first of all, I, along with other people, have noticed that throughout episode 4, V says some odd things about Uzi and when talking to Uzi. Like, in this scene, after V tells Uzi there needs to be more explory and less watch from window creepy going on, she tells Uzi that she'll have to kill her next. Why? Why does V want to dispose of Uzi after Doll is dealt with? Well, Chances are, it's probably because she knows Uzi could end up just like Doll, if not an even worse, stronger Doll. And if given enough time, she might end up just like this mysterious Sin and whatever happened to them. She knows what the Absolute Solver can do because of her past experience with Sin. Or at least that's what I think. Which is brought up later when she directly refers to Uzi as Sin. Then, a little later on, after Uzi converts the arrow shot at her into the massive abomination that looks like it belongs in Zen, the camera immediately focuses on V's face. And then a little bit later, she refers to her as that thing.
V, we can't hurt Uzi!
We do our jobs, and that thing leaves us alone.
I don't know what you're talking about because you won't tell me! What are you so afraid of?
I'm not afraid.
I am! Uzi is! She's a kid, like us, V! What is wrong with you?
Second, in the pilot episode, after Jay bitch slaps N into the reboot, on the "You're dead, idiot" screen, it displays this. String Absolute Solver blocked by administration Sin. So Sin is an administrator, and can even block the Absolute Solver's string of code. So it kinda makes me wonder if Sin is a drone at all, and if they're not, just what are they? Or what is it? And finally, I didn't even notice this myself, actually. I found this out from commenters on other videos about Sin. But it looks like the drone in this vision has another drone's arm in her mouth and is pointing at it. And the severed arm shown impaled on something doesn't look like a drone arm, but it looks closer to a human arm. So perhaps Sin was infected with the Absolute Solver at some point, or maybe already had it and just lost control of it, and went on a killing spree, killing drones, eating them, killing people even. Being that the Absolute Solver seems to make those who have it develop a dependency on oil to avoid dying, it makes sense that if Sin was infected with it, that they would go out and attempt to satiate this need to avoid dying. I could just be misinterpreting these things, I don't know, but I figured I should at least bring those up in this section. So anyway, back to Pass Seal. Alright, the case also says do not play for robots, they will not like it. So I guess JC Jensen must have known that this video causes some sort of hallucinations to the drones? Is JC Jensen employing wizards or something? I've been wondering this since episode 3 dropped with Doll and her crazy magic powers. From sentient robots to magical programs that can do all sorts of wacky stuff and defy logic itself, to now videos that can cause hallucinations to literal robots. This company is making all sorts of things that just pile questions on top of questions with no answers to give. Everything this company creates defies sense itself. What wizards does JC Jensen have working for them that are cooking up this shit? Now, there's one more thing I really want to talk about, and it was probably the first thing I should have talked about since it's the first thing that happens out of these events. But this entire video is backwards, so whatever. So going back earlier in the video, after the encounter with V, where V scratches Uzi's face and tells her she'll kill her, Uzi then uses her absolute magic to uncrush the roach that she crushed with her bag, and then rips open the floor to reveal a dead drone with some drawings hinting at whatever ungodly thing or things these are. And a ripped JC Jensen program admission notice paper that I think has Lights Bell written on it, or Lights something. Also, there's a claw part stuck in the paper. Whatever this is hinting at, I'm not sure, but based on the eldritch look of the drawings, I assume it might be hinting at either the Absolute Solver or whatever singularity Khan mentions Nori talked about. So then this gold roach thing appears, and it scans Uzi's face before referring to her as O2, which is the same number on Nori's collar. And so I think that this thing, and possibly others like it if they exist, could have been like some kind of assistant for the worker drones before the core collapse or something. since it brings up a list of commands including submit time card, PTO request, and call elevator. It also says register torture chamber complaint, so I guess worker drones were put through literal torture chambers? Holy shit, that's messed up. Also, all the robot bugs running around so far have had red lights, while this one has green lights. So I cooked up a little theory. I thought maybe that means that all the bugs were once like this gold one and served as assistants to worker drones, but after the collapse, they were decommissioned or stripped of their duties and left to wander aimlessly. They weren't destroyed, they were just forgotten about. And so the red lights are meant to reflect that. They all had green lights at one point, but red lights on a bug meant that it was essentially defective. And since all of them are essentially defective, they all have red lights. But if the My Thoughts On video is anything to go off of, my ideas and predictions are terrible. So I think the more likely reason for the red lights on the bugs is probably just because they all seem to follow Doll. So, I don't know. So Uzi asks this thing what it is, and just like chatbots in real life, it gets the words completely wrong and doesn't do anything. And then Doll briefly appears behind Uzi, so I guess she's stalking her. Also, the bug doesn't appear that much at all. The only other time that it appears is when Uzi is trying to send a message to N to explicitly not let V know that she's there. So I guess she can control what it says as well. But that's the last time it appears until the ending. So what was the point of it? Alright, that's the big things I wanted to talk about out of the way. There's more I could be talking about, but this video is already probably really long and sucks, so I won't waste too much more of your time. Now let me move on to just some of the more goofier things that I liked, and just general blabbering about the episode. So, first off, I love how seamlessly the episode blends horror with comedy. Most of the humor is actually funny and actually lands most of the time, and it's spooky, scary, eerie when it needs to be, which has been a constant throughout all 4 episodes of Murder Drones. The show is funny when it needs to be, and when it is, the humor is actually good and the jokes actually land. I can't help but get a big goofy smile on my face that I just can't drop for the majority of the runtime of all 4 episodes. But there's also its darker moments that are taken seriously. For the most part, at least. There aren't goofy superhero one-liners being dropped while Uzi is wiping the floor with V, but there is N coming in right before V dies to sling Uzi into the stratosphere like a goddamn rocket. Which, I'm sorry, but I absolutely love that scene. It's just so goofy.
Up we go!
Like, bro, where did you even get the strength to throw like that? And then the fucking line, what did I say about antagonizing her? Oh my god. I also love that En and Uzi have this little therapy session while plummeting to the ground. It's just one of those things that's so incredibly ridiculous that I can't help but crack a smile, and I just can't get rid of it. It's so stupid. It's so goofy. I love it.
Then we'll stick together.
Don't fucking touch it! Plus, my voice is more like...
Also, the fact that murder is treated so nonchalantly in this universe, like Uzi straight up admits to murdering and eating people, and N responds to this news with,
Not like you killed anyone.
Oh, no, I definitely...
Kidding! Just avoid another whole spire. Baby steps. Together?
bro! I mean, I know he's a disassembly drone and has done the exact same thing as Uzi, but dude, that is not information to just brush off like that. That is not something that you hear and just take lightly. It also happens here when Teach, who for the entire episode has done literally nothing and only appears at the very beginning and very end, brings up that there are some campers missing, and V responds with,
Yo, I get hungry, idiot.
No name calling, just a question.
Someone needs to fire this guy. Seriously, he is terrible at his job. Oh yeah, and one more thing I wanted to mention about Uzi's powers. When she turns the arrow into the writhing mess of disgusting, and when she barricades herself in the cabin shortly before her transformation, when she breaks all the lights in the room except one, which turns into a mess of goop, both of those scenes reminded me of the scene in Internecion Cube when Icon tries to create eggs, but instead creates a monstrosity of tentacles that she crushes. And honestly, this might be a bit far-fetched, but I wouldn't be surprised at this point if it turns out that Internecion Cube and Murder Drones are connected somehow. I mean, both shows include murderous AI, strange magical powers, and might I say, both shows are funny as hell. I mean, come on. There's a lot more with this episode that I could talk about, but I think that I'll just leave it here with mentioning this last thing at the very beginning here. When the episode starts, it shows the sign of Camp 98.7, and the sign says established 3002, while the teaser image said established 7002, so that must have been an error in making the teaser image that was fixed in the actual show. So, just figured I'd point that out. Now, as for what comes next, well, we don't really have any information on episode 5 as of me recording this. The most we have is a tweet from Glitch on April 19th captioned, "It's already begun," and the images of Uzi's X-Eyes. Ever since then, it's just been tweets and posts about the merch, so who knows what episode 5 will have in store or when it will come out. If I had to take a guess though, I'll assume that episode 5 will either come out sometime this month or in June. Maybe July, since it really seems like they're sticking with that 2 to 3 month upload schedule. Although, who knows, since it was only a month and a half between the release of the 3rd and 4th episodes, so we'll just have to wait and see. So, that's about all I got for this video. This was an incredibly shortened and terrible rewrite of my original script, and even then, it's still pretty long. But I didn't want to write something for pretty much every part of the episode again. As much as I would like to ramble off all my opinions on every scene, I don't want to subject anyone to that train wreck of a video idea. And this is already kind of all over the place anyway, so I apologize if this video came out, well, terribly. If it wasn't worth the wait in the slightest, this could very well be the worst video about the 4th episode of Murder Drones on all of YouTube. Hell, this could be the worst Murder Drones video on all of YouTube, on the entire internet even. But, yeah. Everything I said in my thoughts on video was dead wrong. That's apparent. So, all my thoughts and ideas were wrong, and the episode was a huge surprise to me. I did not expect the craziness that this episode had in store, and what a hell of a ride it was. I'm super excited to see what happens next. Hi, Seal here from the future again. One more thing. So, during my search for things about sin for that segment of the video, I saw a comment on one of the videos I watched that said that the word sin is actually on the armband that the disassembly drones wear. But I couldn't see the armband well enough in any scene to see what it actually said. So I went to the wiki to see if I could find an image that showed the armband clear enough to discern what it actually says. And I didn't find one, but apparently while I was there, my computer got infected with the absolute solver. Now, I don't know what the solver wants with my computer. This thing is a piece of shit, so I don't know what it wants with it or what it's going to get out of it. But I decided to humor the story, click on the link, and it brought me to this GIF. I don't know if I'm being pranked by the absolute solver or not, pranked idiot, but I guess if I end up missing, then blame the absolute solver. I don't know. Anyway, that's about it. Bye.